Dell PCs. PCs have a BIOS, have a firmware, which must be updated. Windows, for example, is an operating system installed on a motherboard which has a BIOS. In the BIOS you can set fan speed, RAM speed, CPU speed, a lot of things. The firmware can be hacked, and in a move to reduce the risk of getting hacked, Dell implemented a system with which all its PCs will update the firmware on themselves. Unfortunately, the automated system is vulnerable to attacks. 128 PC models, laptops, desktops, you name it, have this vulnerability, with 30 million online PCs being affected. Now, affected is not the best word. It's vulnerable. Yes, you have to be targeted. You're not automatically hacked. But if you are targeted, the hacker has access to everything on your computer. Your antivirus has no luck because it will search for things in the operating system, not in the firmware, and the exploits even work in models that incorporate Microsoft Secure Core PC Protection, a system built to reduce firmware vulnerability. They has released patches which Dell asks you to install by hand, a thing that you should do anyways. Go, and if you have a Dell PC, install from the official website the actual patches that you need. This is a great segue to our next story, sideloading apps. Apple is in the weird position of not allowing another app store to exist or another app to be installed on your iPhone or iPad if you don't have it officially from the App Store. You can install apps on Macs, for example, from any source. You can do the same thing on Android, Microsoft, Chrome, you name it. iOS is the only platform that doesn't let you to install apps from any other place if you don't jailbreak it. Of course, you have that option. And Apple says that if it were to allow sideloading apps, it wouldn't give you a new option, it would actually delete an entire option from the menu, from existence. In this moment, if you want that ecosystem, that way of working, when you don't have to think about security, you are just reassured by the company that everything is safe, you will not accidentally install a malicious app that will steal all your data, all your photos, all of your credit card information, because all apps go through Apple. And if we were to open these doors, the option of a system like this wouldn't exist anymore. Tim Cook said that this thing is not in the best interests of users and distributed quotes from authorities on cybersecurity advising users not to sideload apps or use third-party app stores. For example, from the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, use the official application marketplace only. Users should not download applications from third-party sources to minimize the risk of installing a malicious application. Users should not sideload apps if they do not originate from a legitimate and authentic source. The US Department of Homeland Security had to say users should avoid and enterprises should prohibit on their devices sideloading of apps and the use of unauthorized app stores. Team Apple said that today our phones are not just phones, they store some of our most sensitive information about our personal and professional lives. We designed iPhone with this in mind. Security researchers agree that iPhone is the safest, most secure mobile device, which allows our users to trust their devices with their most sensitive data. Apple also said that privacy is a fundamental human right and makes the explicit case against costs for regulators to require Apple to allow side loadings on the iPhone. Allowing side loading would degrade the security of the iOS platform and expose users to serious security risks not only in the third-party app stores but also on the app stores. Because of the large size of the iPhone users base and the sensitive data stored on their iPhones, photos, location data, health and financial information, allowing sideloading apps would spur a flood of new investment into attacks on the platform. Malicious actors would take advantage of the opportunity by devoting more resources to develop sophisticated attacks targeting iOS users, thereby expanding the set of weaponized exploits and attacks. This increased risk of malware attacks puts all users at greater risk, even those who only download apps from the App Store. Additionally, even users who prefer to only download apps from the App Store could be forced to download an app they need for work or school from third-party stores if it is not made available on the App Store, or they could be tricked into downloading apps from third-party app stores masquerading as the App Store. Sideloading in this case is actually eliminating choice. Users who want the direct access to applications without any kind of review have sideloading today on other platforms. iOS is the one where users understand that they can be tricked or duped into some dark alley or side road where they're going to end up with a side-loaded app even if they didn't intend to. On the same note, NFC near field communication is a great thing. We use it every day to pay for stuff with our phones, to get cash from an ATM using just our phones, or proximity card, not swipeable magnetic one. Unfortunately, for the last 15 years, it turns out that NFC wasn't the safest thing in the world, and security experts knew that. A security firm and an independent contractor has found that you can do a lot of things with an app, with a bespoke built app on Android to an ATM. You can crash the ATM. When the next user comes, it will just not work, or it will show a ransomware message that will make you give money to an account. You can also turn any payment that you have to make to a store, for example, be $1. You have to pay for a bike. It costs $240. The store vendor would think it got the whole sum, but it would only be getting $1. Or you can just hack the entire ATM to open the door and let all the money flow out. There are NDAs signed between ATM companies and the security firms that work on exposing these flaws in order for the companies to fix them, so we don't have any video or pictures of this working. Not real ones. What I'm showing you are just examples. Unfortunately, ATM producing companies can't really fix this issue. There are tens of thousands of ATM machines which have to be manually fixed, some of them working on out-of-date operating systems. Even though the ATM should have been, and it is listed as fixed, researchers showed that it wasn't fixed. The flaw was still there. Since the release of Steven Spielberg's Jaws, hate for sharks has increased. Every year, 1 or 2 people get bitten or killed by a shark, and every year 1 or 2 million sharks get bitten or killed by humans. Apparently this hate isn't new. A 3,000-year discovery showed the victim of a shark attack with over 800 cuts. It has a broken hand, crushed skull, missing hand, missing foot. Most of its upper body bones are either scraped, scratched, or broken. All the indications of a shark attack. The victim is a 30-year-old fisherman from Japan. The hand and foot either were eaten or weren't recovered. It was a fisherman, we know that because the village where he was found with another 170 skeletons was a fishing village, and he was recovered from water, meaning that he must have been fishing either for shark or other fish, and he attracted the shark upon himself. There are no killing signs shown, so the poor guy must have died in the water. Physicists are a fun bunch. New studies show that a beer coaster can flip in 0.45 seconds. A frisbee can also be flipped from horizontal to vertical, but it takes 0.8 seconds or never seconds until landing if you twist it like a professional. A CD twists in 0.8 seconds if you don't give it a spin. Playing cards in 0.24 seconds if you don't spin them. Also, physicists explained the beer tap prank works. You go to a friend, you're in a bar, you take your beer, you toast with your friend, but you hit his top lip of the beer bottle with the bottom of your beer bottle. A few seconds later, foam will build up and it will explode in its face. That's because the beer bottle is imperfect. CO2 sets in the imperfections, and when you hit the top of the beer bottle, you have less pressure on the top, so the CO2 is released by the bottle's vibrations and you get a lot of foam. Because you hit your pranked friend with the bottom of your prankster beer, you have more pressure on the bottom, less vibration going up, so you're clean and dry. And there you have it. The Search for Extraterrestrial Life, or SETI, is an organization that is searching for extraterrestrial life. It was asked recently, okay, we're searching for life, but how much life could there be searching or knowing us? The answer might surprise you. Tens of thousands of solar systems exist and are close enough to us. If they would have a better technology understanding that we have, they could know that we are here, we have water and oxygen, beach parties and climate change. So there are tens of thousands of worlds that could know that we exist. And finally, Quentin Tarantino wants to remind us that he's leaving the movie business behind. Even though his latest movies are the greatest, his mind is set. He's going to make one more movie and that's it. He wants to stop while he's on top, giving the example of Don Siegel, director of Escape from Alcatraz. If he would have stopped there, he would have been reminded as the greatest director, but he made another 2 bad movies, so he's gonna stop. And that's it. No more Quentin Tarantino movies, just watch the old ones with new eyes. That's it for today. No, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. I want to thank the Patreons, YouTube Premium, channel members. There are no channel members and no Patreons, and supposedly no ads because the channel still isn't monetized. Thank you. Still. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and until next time, beware of the falling sweatshirts.